Lil Durk found out his twin was dead on Instagram Live. Not from a phone call. Not from somebody in his circle pulling him aside. Not from a manager or a label executive or anybody who could have delivered that news with even a minimum of care and privacy. He found out from strangers. From comments flooding his live screen while he was playing music like it was any other night. And the moment his demeanor shifted, the moment the energy changed and Durk realized that the comments were not going to stop and this was not a rumor, that moment is preserved on camera forever. November 6th, 2020. Atlanta, Georgia. Monaco Hookah Lounge. King Von, Davon Bennett, Durk's twin, the man he signed, the man he mentored, the man he wrote "3 the Hard Way" about on his Instagram story alongside 2 other fallen OTF members, was gone. And Doodie Lo, OTF insider, the man who was inside that circle when everything fell apart, is now breaking down exactly what that night looked like from the inside. What Durk was really doing. What the circle was really feeling. And what nobody has ever told you about the moment Chicago lost its most important voice. This one is personal. Stay locked in.
You say you big on internet.
Right, they do. I seen on the internet they were saying Durk was live and they was commenting, Von dead, Von dead, Von dead. Did he ever tell you he saw that? Did he see that? Because he didn't pay no attention to it. Did he see that?
He seen that.
That's why he got off live?
Now let us go back to that night. Because before we get into what Doodie Lo revealed, before we break down every layer of what happened inside OTF when King Von was killed, we need to understand the full context of November 6th, 2020. Not just the shooting. Not just the legal aftermath. Not just the tributes and the murals and the platinum certifications that followed. The human reality of that night. What it actually felt like to be inside that circle when everything fell apart in real time. King Von and Lil Durk were not just label mates. They were not just collaborators who happened to make good music together. They were brothers in the most complete sense of that word. Shortly after Von started rapping, Lil Durk took him under his wing, signed him to his Only the Family label, and helped mold him as an artist. But even that description, mentor, label boss, the man who gave Von his first real platform, even that does not capture what they actually were to each other. Because Durk and Von had gone back before the music. It went back to Chicago, to O Block, to the streets that shaped both of them before either of them was famous. And that foundation, that shared history, that shared survival, is what made Von's death something that could not be processed like a normal loss. And Doodie Lo understands that better than almost anybody. Because Doodie Lo, OTF member, one of Durk's closest associates, was inside that world. Was present for the conversations that never made it onto social media. Was in those rooms when the cameras were off and the music was done, and these men were just themselves, processing the weight of the lives they were living and the losses they had already absorbed before November 2020 even arrived. Now let us talk about what actually happened that night from the outside, from what the public record shows, before we get into what Doodie Lo reveals about the inside. Because the outside story alone is already devastating enough to stop you cold.
I don't know if that's why he got off live, but he seen that.
But he didn't make no expressions, no facial expressions, no anger, no nothing.
Cause you gotta think, they say all type of shit. They say I'm dead on live, on my live, so, but everybody kept saying that shit. So I know he probably seen this.
Right, when she's like that.
November 6th, 2020. Early morning hours. Monaco Hookah Lounge at 255 Trinity Avenue in Atlanta. Von died after sustaining gunshot wounds following an altercation outside an Atlanta nightclub. The incident left 3 dead and 3 injured. It happened fast. The way these things always happen. One moment everything is normal, and the next moment it is not, and the space between those 2 moments is so small that nobody who was there has ever been able to fully explain how the transition happened so quickly. And Lil Durk was not there. He was somewhere else that night. On Instagram Live. Playing music. Being present for his followers in the way that artists in 2020 were expected to be, digitally available, streaming, connected. And then the comments started coming in. Durk was on his Instagram Live when fans began leaving comments that Von had been shot. He was playing music, but once the replies started coming in, his demeanor completely changed. Think about that specific sequence of events for a moment. Durk did not get a phone call first. did not get a text from somebody in the circle who knew what had happened and wanted to make sure Durk heard it from the right person before the internet got hold of it. Durk learned of Von's death as followers on Instagram Live informed him of the reports. Strangers. People watching his live stream. Regular fans who saw the news breaking and started typing it into the comment section because that is what people do in 2020 when something happens. They share it immediately, everywhere, without stopping to think about who might be on the receiving end of that information and what it is going to do to them.
Go ahead and do something about it. That's crazy. Look, how did you feel when Von passed away?
That shit fucked me up. That shit fucked everything up.
Fuck you up, how?
Man, I started doing.
And Durk, who has built a reputation for being composed, for keeping his emotions controlled even in the most intense situations, for presenting a face to the world that does not easily crack, Durk could not hold it together on that live. Because some news cannot be held together against. Some losses are too immediate, too personal, too devastating to be processed in real time with a camera running and thousands of people watching. The video of Durk appearing to find out King Von died became one of the most watched clips in Chicago rap history. Shared across every platform, commented on by millions of people, preserved forever as a document of what grief looks like when it hits without warning. And then 6ix9ine, who has made a career out of doing the most disrespectful possible thing in any given situation, saw that clip. 6ix9ine replied with a laughing emoji in the Instagram comment section of DJ Academic's account that featured the video of Durk appearing to find out King Von died. In the middle of Durk's most vulnerable public moment, in the middle of a man finding out his brother was dead on a live stream, 6ix9ine chose to laugh. And Chicago has never forgotten that.
I started drinking pint after pint after pint. I ain't wanna be around nobody. That was a tough one.
Right, did you wish you was there that night because you was willing to wish you was there?
Yeah, I wish I was there because I know for a fact I'm riding the dime with my homies, man.
Now Doodie Lo's breakdown of this night adds something that none of the public documentation captured. Because the public documentation shows you the outside. Shows you Durk's face changing on the live. Shows you the Instagram tribute that came after. Shows you the community's reaction. But what Doodie Lo brings is the inside. What was happening in that circle before the live ended. What the phone calls sounded like in the hours after. What it meant for the people closest to Von and Durk to absorb a loss of this magnitude, while simultaneously being expected to be present and visible and responsive in a world that was watching every move they made. Because OTF did not get to grieve privately. They never do. When you are connected to a culture that millions of people consume as entertainment, when your losses become trending topics and your grief becomes content, you do not get the luxury of processing things at your own pace in your own way. The world demands an immediate response. Demands tributes. Demands statements. Demands that you perform your grief in a way that satisfies everybody watching while you are still in the middle of experiencing it. And Durk, who had just lost not just his closest collaborator but the man he called his twin, the man he had been in legal situations with, the man he had built something extraordinary with over years of genuine shared history. Durk had to navigate all of that in public. Had to find the words for an Instagram post while he was still processing what he had just found out through a live stream comment section. Durk wrote, "My twin gone. I love you baby bro, D. Roy," alongside a photo of Von. 6 words. That is what you get when grief is too big for language. When the relationship was so deep and so specific that no amount of words could actually capture what has been lost. My twin gone. Not my friend. Not my artist. Not my collaborator. My twin. The person who mirrored something essential back to you. The person whose presence made you more of yourself. Gone. Durk also posted to his IG story with a photo of Von and 2 other fallen OTF members writing simply, 3 the hard way. 3 people. 3 losses. All of them connected to the same circle, the same family, the same world that Durk had built and that kept demanding this specific kind of payment. And Durk was still standing. Still present. Still the one expected to hold everything together even when everything was falling apart. And Doodie Lo, who watched all of this from inside the circle, has things to say about that night and about that weight that nobody from the outside could ever fully access. Things about what Durk was really carrying in those hours. Things about what the circle was saying to each other when the cameras were finally off. Things about what it means to lose somebody the way OTF lost Vaughn. Suddenly, violently, publicly, and then be expected to keep moving. Because what Doodie Lo reveals about the inside of that night is something that changes how you understand everything that came after. Every decision Durk made in the months following Vaughn's death. Every song he released. Every public statement. Every moment where Durk appeared in front of a camera and held himself together in a way that the outside world read as strength, but that the people inside the circle understood as something far more complicated than strength. Because what Doodie Lo is describing is not just grief. It is the specific, suffocating weight of being the one who is still here when your twin is not. Of being the person that everybody else in the circle looks to for direction, when you yourself are the one who most needs somebody to look to. Doodie Lo was close to both Vaughn and Durk in a way that very few people in OTF could claim equally. He was not just Durk's man or just Vaughn's man. He was family to both of them. And that dual proximity, that specific position of being equally connected to both sides of what was lost that night, is what makes his breakdown of November 6th, 2020 so different from anything anybody else has put on record about that evening. Because he is not telling you what he heard. He is not reconstructing the night from second-hand accounts or social media timelines. He was inside it. He felt the phones start ringing. He felt the energy shift in real time. And he has been carrying the weight of what he knows about that night for years. Now let us talk about the conspiracy theory angle. Because this is something that Doodie Lo's breakdown directly addresses, and that cannot be ignored when you are talking honestly about everything that surrounded Vaughn's death. Because in the days and weeks after November 6th, 2020, as the community was processing the loss and the internet was doing what the internet always does with a tragedy of this magnitude, a specific and deeply disturbing narrative began to circulate. The idea that Durk had somehow been involved in what happened to Vaughn. That his absence from Atlanta that night was suspicious. The timing of the IG Live, the specific circumstances of how he found out, the fact that he was nowhere near the Monaco hookah lounge when the shooting happened, that all of it pointed towards something sinister. Lil Durk responded to people saying he sacrificed King Vaughn, directly addressing these allegations that had been spreading across social media platforms in the aftermath of the shooting. And the fact that Durk had to address those allegations at all, had to publicly defend himself against the claim that he had orchestrated or allowed the death of the man he called his twin, tells you everything about how toxic the discourse around this tragedy became almost immediately. And Doodie Lo has something to say about that. About what it felt like for the people inside the circle to watch outsiders construct a narrative about Durk's involvement when they knew what the reality was. When they were present for the actual conversations, the actual phone calls, the actual human devastation that Durk was living through in the hours and days after Vaughn died. Because the sacrifice narrative did not just attack Durk. It attacked everybody in OTF. It said that the circle these men had built, the loyalty they had pledged to each other, the family they had created out of the specific shared experience of coming from Chicago and surviving it, all of it was a lie. All of it was a cover for something calculated and cold. And the people who knew better, the people like Doodie Lo who were inside those walls, who had seen the real relationship between Durk and Vaughn up close for years, those people had to watch that narrative spread and grow and take on a life of its own on the internet while they were simultaneously trying to process a loss that had no clean answers and no comfortable resolution. Now let us bring in Chop Squad DJ's testimony here. Chop Squad DJ, who produced beats for Vaughn, who had one of the closest creative relationships with Vaughn of anybody in the extended OTF world, shared something in his tribute that speaks directly to what Doodie Lo is describing about the inside of that circle. Chop Squad DJ said, "R.I.P. my best friend. The only nigga to listen to me word for word from day one. We sat on FaceTime for hours making songs together. Every bar had a meaning and every song was a part of our soul. YouTube. Every bar had a meaning. That is the line that matters." Because what Chop Squad DJ is describing, what Doodie Lo understands and what everybody who is genuinely inside Vaughn's creative process knows, is that Vaughn did not just make music. He documented. He was preserved. He put his actual life on record in a way that very few artists in the history of hip-hop have ever done with that level of specificity and that level of honesty. And when you understand that, when you truly grasp that every bar Vaughn ever recorded was connected to something real that happened in a real place at a real moment, then his death is not just a loss of a person. It is a loss of the archive. The living, breathing, still producing archive of a world that Vaughn was the only person capable of documenting the way he documented it. And Durk knew that. Understood that in a way that went beyond the music business, beyond the streaming numbers, beyond the cultural significance. Durk knew that when Vaughn died, a specific kind of truth-telling died with him. A specific voice went silent. And Durk, who had his own voice, who had his own extraordinary talent, who had built his own legacy before Vaughn ever stepped into a studio, Durk still felt that silence as a personal amputation. Because Vaughn was the part of Durk's creative world that completed something. That covered angles Durk could not cover himself. That told the stories that Durk could not tell in quite the same way. And Asian Doll, Vaughn's close friend and girlfriend, expressed the emotional devastation of that night in a way that captures what the entire circle was feeling underneath whatever public composure they were trying to maintain. She tweeted, "I wanna die too. It feels like I died already." 3 words that cut through everything. No performance. No craft. Just raw grief from somebody who loved Vaughn and was not trying to hide what his death was doing to her. YouTube. And that rawness, that specific inability to contain what was being felt, is what Doodie Lo's breakdown communicates about what was happening inside OTF that night. Because the public saw the IG tribute. The public saw Durk's face change on the live stream. The public saw the community rallying around the loss in the way that Chicago communities always rally. What the public did not see was the inside. The phone calls that went unanswered. The messages that nobody knew how to respond to. The specific human chaos of a group of people who had been through so much together suddenly having to absorb the most permanent possible kind of loss with no preparation and no roadmap for what comes next. Because OTF had lost people before. That is the reality of the world these men came from and the world they continue to operate in even after the music made them wealthy and famous. Loss was not unfamiliar to them. Grief was not a new experience. But Vaughn was different. Vaughn was the twin. Vaughn was the one who was supposed to still be here because he had made it this far and the album had just dropped and everything was building towards something that felt like it could not be stopped. Welcome to O Block peaked at number 5 on the Billboard 200 1 week before Vaughn died. 1 week. He had made it. Completely. Undeniably. The kid from Parkway Gardens who had beaten a murder charge and turned everything he had lived through into platinum-certified music. He was standing at the doorway of a career that had no ceiling. And then November 6th arrived and the ceiling came down. And Doodie Lo was there. And what he carries from that night, what he has been carrying since, is the specific knowledge of what it felt like to be inside that circle when the ceiling came down. And the part that nobody outside of OTF has fully understood about everything that came after. The legal decisions, the music Durk made, the way the circle reorganized itself around the absence of one of its most essential members, is that all of it was shaped by what happened in those first hours. By what Durk was really feeling when the comments started coming in and the live stream kept running, and the world would not give him even a moment of privacy to fall apart the way a man who just lost his twin needs to fall apart. Doodie Lo knows what those hours looked like. And what he is putting on record about them, what he is finally saying out loud after years of carrying it internally, is going to change how you understand everything Durk did in the years that followed. And what he is putting on record about them, what he is finally saying out loud after years of carrying it internally, is going to change how you understand everything Durk did in the years that followed. Doodie Lo didn't just speak about sadness. He spoke about the pressure. The suffocating pressure that fell on Durk the second those comments started flooding his Instagram live. While the world was watching Durk's face change in real time, inside the circle phones were ringing non-stop. People were screaming, crying, and asking the same question over and over, where the fuck is Durk? Some were angry. Some were broken. Some were already thinking about retaliation. At that moment, Durk wasn't just a rapper who lost his brother. He was the leader of only the family, and everybody was looking at him for direction while he himself was falling apart. According to Doodie Lo, the hours after Vaughn's death were complete chaos. Durk was trying to process the news while simultaneously being hit with calls from family, from the label, from street affiliates, and from people who wanted to know if it was time to ride. The weight on his shoulders was inhuman. He had just lost the person he called his twin, the one who understood him on a street level that nobody else could match. And instead of being allowed to grieve privately, he had to become the strong one immediately. Doodie Lo revealed that Durk was asking the tough questions that night. Questions like how did this happen? And who was really there? The circle was trying to piece together the events in Atlanta while dealing with their own shock. Some OTF members were ready to jump on the first flight to Atlanta. Others were telling Durk to stay calm and not make emotional decisions. But the pain was too fresh. The anger was too real. What makes Doodie Lo's words so powerful is that he doesn't paint Durk as a superhero. He shows him as a human being who was completely devastated. He admitted that seeing Durk try to hold everything together after finding out on Instagram Live hurt the whole circle. Because they knew how close Durk and Von actually were. They knew the late-night conversations, the studio sessions, the street moments, and the unbreakable bond they shared. Losing Von felt like losing a piece of Durk himself. Doodie Lo also touched on the dark rumors that started circulating almost immediately, the ones claiming Durk had something to do with Von's death. He shut that down hard. He said those theories hurt the family deeply because the people on the inside knew the truth. They saw Durk's pain up close. They saw a man mourning his brother, not celebrating. Doodie Lo made it clear that the conspiracy theories were not only false but extremely painful for everyone who actually loved Von. He explained how the months after Von's death changed Durk forever. The music became darker. The protection around him became tighter. The trust issues inside OTF grew stronger. Every decision Durk made from that point forward, every feature, every move, every statement, was influenced by the whole Von left behind. Doodie Lo says Durk carried guilt, even though he wasn't there. Guilt that he wasn't in Atlanta. Guilt that he couldn't protect his twin. Guilt that the streets took someone so important to him. The most emotional part of Doodie Lo's revelation was when he described the private moments. The phone calls where Durk would go silent. The nights where the circle would sit together with nobody knowing what to say. The pressure of having to drop music and appear strong while still bleeding inside. Doodie Lo made it clear that what the public saw was only 10% of what was really happening. He also addressed how Von's death affected the entire Only the Family movement. The label lost its breakout star. The streets lost a real storyteller. And Durk lost the one person who could match his energy both in music and in the streets. Doodie Lo believes that if Von was still alive today, the whole OTF empire would look completely different. This is why Doodie Lo's words matter so much. He wasn't speaking for clout. He was speaking as someone who was really there. Someone who watched his brother mourn another brother in the most public and painful way possible. His breakdown gives us a rare look behind the curtains of one of the most tragic nights in modern drill history. King Von's death didn't just take away a talented artist. It took away a piece of Lil Durk that we may never see again. And according to Doodie Lo, Durk is still carrying that pain to this day. So family, after hearing Doodie Lo speak, one thing becomes crystal clear. November 6th, 2020 didn't just change Lil Durk's career, it changed him as a man. The way he found out about his twin's death on Instagram Live, the weight he had to carry while the world watched, and the pressure that followed, all of it left permanent scars. Doodie Lo didn't expose Durk. He humanized him. He showed us the pain behind the music, behind the tough image, and behind all the decisions Durk has made since that tragic night. Now I want to hear from you in the comments. Do you think Durk was ever the same after losing Von? Was Doodie Lo right to speak on this now? How do you feel about Durk finding out on Instagram Live? Drop your honest thoughts below. This topic is heavy, so let's keep it respectful but real. If you're new here, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss these deep breakdowns. Share this with anyone who needs to hear the real story behind the headlines.